Jobs have been lost by the hundreds of thousands in the United States and certainly by the tens of thousands in Australia. Do you think the jobs situation will get worse before it gets better?
Well, we're hopeful that the U.S., which has been hemorrhaging jobs, 600,000 job losses every month, and that's been true for 3 or 4 months. So we're down at least 3 million jobs, maybe more by this point. The unemployment rate, which was 4.3, when the data are announced tomorrow, it's probably going to be 8%, maybe more. And so the U.S. has just been hammered by bad news month after month after month. We think that bad news is about ready to end, that we're going to be at the bottom of the job, the worst of the job losses we think will be behind us by the middle of this year. And that the U.S. will not be growing, but it won't be having a catastrophic decline that it's experienced so far. Now,
by the middle of this year?
By the middle of this year. Now,
would that go for Australia too,
well,
as far as you can tell?
I can act as if I'm an expert in Australia, but in fact I haven't studied it carefully, but I would hazard a guess that the Australian problems are delayed, will fall behind the U.S., because first the U.S. gets ill, then China gets ill, and after that you see Australia getting ill. So it's likely to be somewhat delayed.
Do you think through all this last year there's been too much focus on Wall Street, on the credit crunch, on the financial crisis, and not enough focus on the impact on the real economy and real people's lives?
I think that's the case. When you think about the mortgage-backed securities, where's the problem with mortgage-backed securities? Where does it originate from? It originates from the housing sector. And if you get the taxpayers buying mortgage-backed securities, the price they ought to pay depends upon what's happening in the housing sector. How far down our home prices are going to go, what are defaults and delinquencies going to be. So we've been oddly treating a symptom of the disease rather than the disease. The symptom is trouble on Wall Street, but the disease is a Main Street problem with regard to sales of homes. The same thing is true with the auto sector.
One of the scary things is how quickly, how rapidly the deterioration seemed to take place and have a dramatic impact on the real economy. You foresaw in 2005 the dangers posed by the housing bubble in the United States, but I think even you didn't see how shocking this deterioration on the real economy would be.
No, we completely missed it. We thought that that the U.S. economy, we had an extended adjustment for the housing. Normally you have a housing peak which occurred in the fourth quarter of 2005, and within 2 or 3 quarters after that you're in a recession. So this thing was an extended kind of sluggish, what we call a serial adjustment rather than parallel adjustment. Parallel adjustment means everything goes weak at the same time. Serial means you deal first with the houses and then you deal with autos and then move on to another problem. We thought we were going to have one of these very unusual extended period of sluggishness, and that we would stumble forward rather than fall down the way we did in the second half of the year. But as we were stumbling forward, we just fell off a cliff. So you ask, why did it happen? We knew that consumers were going to cut back because there's all this wealth effect, negative wealth effect. Consumers had to cut back, but we didn't think there was a coordinating mechanism that would get them all to cut back in the same month. Well, they did all cut back in November and December. So you can look around and try to find out what that coordinating mechanism is. I have my suspicion.
Are you an optimist?
Well, the economy is an organic, self-healing system. There are business people, individuals all over the United States, all over the globe, taking advantage of opportunities that are created by this terrible downturn, and the system is healing as we sit here right now. And I have a great deal of faith in the ability of the economy to heal and in the power of innovation to drive growth around the world.
By when?
Well, we think the U.S. is going to have a better second half of this year, and 2010 is going to feel a lot better by comparison.
So from July this year, the United States will start to come out of this?
Yeah, the normal recession is V-shaped, meaning that you have a lot of problem in the first stroke of the V, and then you get it all back. The first stroke of the V is about 3 months. You lose 3 quarters. You lose 2 or 3 million jobs, and you get them all back within the next 3 quarters. That's not going to happen this time. We've had that first stroke of the V, and we think it's going to be more like bouncing on the bottom for a considerable period of time because consumers are not going to come back the way they have historically because of the long period of time in which they overspent. They're going to be continuing to improve their balance sheets really for the foreseeable future.